and introduce Wiley. Wiley, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Christina, and thank you to all the folks here joining us in this Career Champion program on Job Market Insights. Before we get started, just to kind of read the room a little bit more, can you all just kind of just drop into the chat here, which you can find on the bottom section of the center, almost bottom center of your window here, and just let me know what kinds of questions are students asking you about like industry specific information about, for example, what kinds of skills does an X kind of person need? So if you can just drop any of those questions in the chat for me, that'll help to kind of guide my conversation with you all today. Oh, I'll wait for those questions. I want to get the presentation pulled up. Christina, can you see my screen? Awesome.
That's great, thank you.
All right, and now, Christina, if you could just monitor the chat if any of those questions come up, but I'll get the conversation started. Hi everyone, my name is Wiley Dawson. I'm a career consultant here in the Center for Career Development, and I work with students specifically in the School of Engineering, but I also do a lot of different work and activity around kind of working with the Career Everywhere team to provide resources to students through what we call the Career and Affinity Community resource pages. And that's where you will find, on the Career Communities pages, where you will find a really quick access to job market insights. So we start off with kind of wanting to talk about who is EMSI. That is the partner organization that delivers job market insights to us, us and other career departments at universities. And so EMSI is an organization that's been doing this work as far as labor market information since about 2001. They're part of that big brain trust in the Boston, Cambridge area. And so ESMI's data looks a little bit like this. There's 5 parts of it. And so they take this multi-pronged approach to pulling this information from a variety of different places. They pull traditional labor data and market information. They also do some job posting analytics by looking at what's been posted. They look at profiles on social media, specifically LinkedIn, but also other places where people can engage in that kind of dialogue. They look at compensation data. So that's pulling from Department of Labor, the IRS, in those areas, and then also self-reported. And then they also look at some of the global data, from what's going on globally around the world. And then they also look at skills that people report in their applications and also in other places like on their LinkedIn profiles and so on and so forth. I see a couple things here in the chat. So someone asked, I get a lot of questions about shifts and trends given the impact of COVID. I think students are more curious about what the market they're entering in will look like the future of it. So that's a great question. And that's a question that I get to. I know many of my colleagues who also coach students one-on-one get that same question about, well, what is it going to look like since we just left, or since we're in the midst of this pandemic and hopefully exiting the ramifications of it. And Job Market Insights updates in real time. And so you'll be able to see, I'll show you in a second, kind of what that information looks like. And it provides it from a 10 years out perspective. And it also does it, and it shows, and it indicates to you, is this an industry that is growing or that had a decline, and is it also going to pick back up, or will it ever get back to its peak of where it had its height? So I hope that answered the question, Danielle. Another question, I'm looking for a position that will allow me to use my my MIS degree as part of a team. Where should I be looking? And so I think Job Market Insights does a great job of putting the information in a much more digestible place for folks looking at the information. So you'll be able to look at, if you, based on industry or based on the position type, or the occupation type, who are the top companies that hire folks who have those capabilities or are looking in this particular industry. And then you'll also be able to look at what are some of the job types, right, that folks have, which is really helpful because I know when I was a student, it was really hard to be able to identify, well, what jobs am I actually looking for? What occupations am I looking for? So that's a great way to do that. So thanks for that question, Evan. Another question from Elaine. Uh, so the question is, students who are studying women, gender, and sexuality studies, they don't know what they can do with their degree and feel like they have to major in business or science to get a good job. So I guess the question is where are students who are majoring in the humanities working, and are there any good trends? Yeah. So when you're looking at the job market insights, and always when students are in those areas, you can look at the best place to access the information, to kind of really get to it quicker, is by going through the career communities. What we've done is we've based off how our website's set up, it allows us to be able to pre-select based on that industry of what what industries might fit that particular pocket that we have as far as majors here at the university. And so students in that area might go to something like, I'll show you in a second, and maybe that'd be the one that I'll show you in the live demonstration, but you go to the career community for careers in the common good, and you'll see some opportunities there. But there's also another one for social services that they'll be able to do some work into. So, but job market insights can be the beginning of how they establish what information they need to make some more informed decisions about how they unpack their professional development. So great question, Elaine. All right, so I'm gonna move right along. All right, so Job Market Insights is a resource that's embedded into our website. We use a resource called UConnect. Doesn't really matter what it's called, but it's a resource. It's a website that was designed for career service departments. And so a lot of what you see here on our website is embedded, and our marketing and web development team does a fantastic job of pulling the information and putting it into a space that it's very transferable across the website. And so Job Market Insights is embedded right into our webpage, but it's also in a few other places. When you come to our website, you'll see it here on the main tab bar, but then you can also access it from the career communities. So our website is career.uconn.edu for those who don't know. So like I said before, another place to see this information would be accessing it from a career community page, which the benefit of each, so here are the pros and the cons or the pros for each access point. If you access it from here, you have two options of how you can search the information. This section of it allows for a little more, it's more flexible, right? Because especially if the student has questions about an industry and their understanding of it is a little ambiguous. They don't really know exactly what it's called. As soon as you start, I'll show this in a second, but as soon as you start typing in here, it'll provide you with a suggestion that is connected to what the information that is available in the job market insight. On this one, you would go down here and select an industry, then you would select an occupation, and then it would begin the search for you. And like I said before, these were pre-assigned based off of the industry of that particular, or the industry focus of that career community. And so when students identify or select one of those, the one that I selected here was school psychologist. And so it starts off with a very long list, but very helpful list of what are the core tasks of a school psychologist. And so for a student, someone who's in the exploration phase of their, which most of them are in that space, and they'll still be in that spot as well, even when they decide where they want to go, because career exploration and career development is a lifelong process. They'll be able to identify what are the core tasks, skills that are used in this particular profession, and also that helps them in the realm of how do I evaluate what I bring to the table and what skills do I need to work on or perfect or add to my list of skills. And this is a great way for them to do that. Or also to say, oh my goodness, I didn't know that they collect and analyze data. I don't want to do that, right? And so now they can kind of, generate questions and opportunities to have more discussion about what does that look like in real time and in the real life. Another cool thing, when I talked about this before, someone asked a question about what will the industry look like going forward. And so this is an example of, so this is all related to being a school psychologist. You can see here, the Department of Labor does these projection um, analysis of what an industry is going to look like. And now this is an indication of the demand as it grows over the next 10 years. And so what we're looking at is really saying, okay, how many new jobs will be created? Not the jobs that are going to be filled by somebody who retires or quits, but new jobs. And so this particular profession is at a 10.4% increase, which is higher than average. I think average is like 5 or something like that. And so that right there is really great because it shows the students kind of what that looks like, but you can also see it as well. You see here in 2020, it dropped because of the pandemic, but then it picked back up in 21. Another great piece of information that I use when I'm talking to students about, how to begin the job search, how to kind of engage in the process. One of the methods we tell students is to do a company specific, a company driven job search. Identify what are those companies you like or you admire or that you would like to join, and then search those companies, seek out those companies exclusively. And sometimes students don't outside of like the big companies, they have a hard time generating a list. And this is a great way to just start them out. This goes through, talks about the different education levels. And so this information is pulled from from a resource called ONET, which is a quasi-government agency. It's called the Occupation Network. And that information is pulled from, same places, Department of Labor, Department of Education, and all these other government organizations to provide this resource for folks who are doing occupational research, to let them know, okay, if you want to become a school psychologist, you'll have to get this level of education, you had to obtain these kinds of skills in order to be eligible to enter this field. And this just shows students that if you want to do that, there's almost 0% of folks who have just a bachelor's degree in their school psychology. This is what all students and even myself sometimes get really excited about, because it's like, oh, look at the numbers. But I always say to folks, take a look at the legend down here, or the key, and this number, this median salary, is really pretty. It's really nice. It's really nice to look at. But when you see that number is 50% of people report that that's how much they make. The more realistic number might be the ones that are 75, 90%, which is 59 and 44, right? And that's why I tell students, like, take a look at those things, right? That's the range. So when they're talking about how do I, negotiate a salary, I always bring them to Job Market Insights, say, look at this, then go over to the university, the UConn's undergraduate student outcomes that's on our website as well, and then compare that with what UConn students are getting. Now, the good thing about Job Market Insights, what I did here with the school psychologist search, is this is a national search. It will adjust and change as they go from state to state. So that's the really interesting part too. And I always tell folks to do that flip through the different filters. Also a really cool piece, especially for folks who are trying to identify growth areas and areas where they might want to enhance themselves, is take a look at the technical and soft skills. And which soft skills, the more conventional way of saying that is transferable skills. What are those things that they need to possess in order to be competitive? And then what are those technical skills that are going to come from academic training, certification, and areas like that? But this is a great place for them to be able to identify areas where they'll need to either um, add a skill or enhance on their skills. Like I said before, along with the companies, there's a list of different job titles for folks who are school counselors. And this is helpful because, you go into a Google search and say travel school counsel, travel school psychologist, and you throw that into Google, that's going to provide them some more insight on, well, what are some of the job duties and responsibilities, who hires these kinds of people, and it opens up the opportunity for them to do more information discovery. And so before I move on, let me go back because I just kind of just threw that all out there. What questions do you have right now about job market insights? And I'm almost done with slides. I can't see anyone, so I don't know.
I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay, so in wrapping up, I have 2 more slides. The best practices for helping students that I've found from conversation with my colleagues and things that I do in real time. Job Market Insights is a great resource to help students explore, plan, and develop, right? So using Job Market Insights as a exploration tool helps them browse the various opportunities, the various industries, the various occupations, looking at those things and trying to identify what it will be expected of me as a future electrical engineer or a future, you know, professor of women, gender, and sexuality studies, right? It will help students plan and be more strategic. You know, I often sometimes sit down with students and I say, okay, let's think a little strategically here, right? Let's try to think, well, what's your, you're a senior, what's your 6-month plan, right? What's your 1-year plan, right? And sometimes they don't always have that information readily in the back of their mind. And so being that coach or that mentor to help them begin to think about those things is really important. And this helps them do that because it's giving them data that they can use to make some more informed decisions. And then lastly, it's developing you know, one, evaluating where they are, but then identifying areas where they can have some areas of growth, which helps to transform them from, you know, and teaches them that, as you progress through your career, this is what career management is about, right? It's identifying the areas that I need to develop in order to be, in order to progress through my career, but also to, um, you know, uh, become a more effective professional. And just lastly, I know you all know about all of our resources, but here are some other resources from the Center for Career Development that we have available to students, and we always encourage them to access these. Handshake, Husky Mentor Network, Career on Demand, the Career and Affinity communities. And that is my very short presentation and questions. So, all right, so I stopped sharing. So I'll take any questions. You can unmute. I'd love to hear your voices and we can go from there. While I wait for those questions, I want to get the website pulled up so I can do a live demonstration. Um, I'm gonna reshare my screen. Okay, so when you get to our website, you're gonna want to um, access to get access to job market insights from a few different places. So the more the place that is more flexible, I guess, would be just going right off this main bar and selecting job market insights. Students can do a quick search or they can go through filtering options similar to what it looks like on the career communities. Just this is going to be all of the industries, not a short list. So here, we would say, okay, well, show me women, gender. What do I get? So sometimes what it will take is, okay, well, what are some more general terms? And so that's where like the search criteria works out. And so I might say advocate, advocacy, mental and so. Well, and in some cases too, that's where when students have a major, let's say for urban and community studies, that's where I would say go to the career communities to identify what that looks like. And so this is like a prime example of where this could work for some students, but it may not work for all to do an open search. And so let's go to the career communities and then we'll go. So if you go here, this is where we identified a space for all students who either are undeclared or have a more generalized major, I guess, in a sense. For most students, all students have been plotted in different areas. And so I would go here to social services, select this job market insights tab here, go to the drop down women, gender, and family studies falls under that human service area. And so then I'd select that. And then there's like a host of different types of sectors within that industry of human service. And I'm just going to pick a random one, not a barber. Uh, let's just pick this one. It's fun. Manicurist. I think I need a manicure myself. But so just like I showed you in the presentation, you're going to start off with every one of them is going to only show you the first five, and then students will have to drop down and show the full list. These tabs up here are really helpful because I think if I'm looking for more information about what does this look like in Connecticut, um, look at the trends, top employers, the education level, annual earnings, right? This is really helpful because I think, like I said in the presentation, it provides students with the access points. And the cool thing about where you have like the transferable skills or the soft skills is when you hover over it, it provides kind of like this analysis of the importance and the level that people use in this industry. Gives a little bit of an example of what does this mean. And I think that's one of the most important duties as a career coach is teaching students about transferable skills because that's how they'll be able to explain on a resume and an interview and a cover letter, how does what I've been doing in college or in other experiences outside of my professional track, how does it transfer to my professional life? And so that's a great way to do that. Yeah. So now I'm seriously done. What questions do you all have, if any? I'm kind of cut off here.
Hey, Riley, I have a question. My name is Danielle. Thanks so much for your presentation today. It sounds like, and I even just watched you do it, where you pulled up the software and you kind of like work through that. Would you suggest just doing that kind of with students? Have you found that to be helpful, just kind of like in live form, checking and walking through?
Yes, especially when students come to us and they're in that space. I think doing that shows that we're human and we're going through the process together, right? And that I may not know exactly how to word something, right? But going through the process with them is modeling in a lot of spaces, and I think it helps them to say, okay, Riley was able to show me that I'm very capable now. They build a confidence. I can go do that at home and work through that myself. And then they might even show a pair, which is obviously a bonus. But yeah, for sure. Thanks for that question, Daniel.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Nancy, is there anything else you want me to show folks that might be helpful?
I don't think so. I mean, I think to your point, sharing this with students is super helpful. And, something like, gender and
Women's
sexuality
studies.
studies, women's gender and sexuality studies, that's going to be more of a major that's not going to have that linear career path.
Yeah.
And that's why we have our career communities. So a student in that major might, think there's a couple different career communities that they want to join to get more information. So maybe it's human services, and maybe they're also interested in business. So they can use this to look for those they can use the career communities to kind of learn about those fields, but then use job market insights to to determine what jobs they might be interested in those fields. So I think, there's definitely opportunities for students in all majors, even if they're not sure what they want to do, to start using this just to explore and get the feel for it.
Thanks for that, Nancy. And Brianna, thanks for the comment. I think it absolutely is a great opportunity for us to be able to kind of open the pantheon. I'll use a big word here, the pantheon of all the different possibilities and occupations that are out there for folks, and do it in a way where it's packaged in very digestible form, which for students sometimes, I think this generation of folks coming into the workforce, they have so many options. And I think that sometimes makes it difficult to make decisions on what do they do next or how do they make that choice. So yeah, I think you're right. It does a great job. Yeah, this was fun. Any other questions?
We love this resource at the Career Center, so we definitely want to share it with all of you. It's something that resonates with students. It's fairly easy to use, and something that you all can just jump on when students have questions. So feel free to share it with your other people you work with, colleagues, and of course students as well.
Okay, well, this was great. Thank you, Wiley,
Awesome.
for presenting.
Thank you, folks.
Champions. This is a great resource and it's easy to find. It's on our career website, career.uconn.edu, and it's right there, Job Market Insights. You really can't miss it. So really great. Thank you all for attending today's session. You will receive a recording of this. So if you want to go back and review some of Wiley's notes, it'll be there for you. And that's it. I want you to enjoy the rest of your afternoon. And thank you again for attending. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, folks.